Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. Hope you're doing good. If you do like my content, hit that like and subscribe button and let me know in the comment section below. Alright, so today's video is all about Prometheus and why I call it the ultimate monitoring solution. At any point in this video, if you do feel like jumping ahead, I have timestamps in the description below. So let's look at the key features here. Prometheus has a very powerful query language called PromQL, and it's based on metrics and labels. Prometheus does have client library integrations with a lot of languages. There's a long list on their website. Some of them are Go, Python, Ruby, Rust, and the list goes on. It's got precise alerting using the alert manager. We'll look into it later on in the series. The agents we use to collect these metrics are very lightweight and open source. Components we need to start with is the Prometheus main binary. We'll also need agents or exporters is what they call in this sense, and also to visualize, we'll use a tool like Grafana. So how does Prometheus collect these metrics? Most of the monitoring tools out there like Splunk, Datadog, all of them used a push-based approach where the agent actually pushes out these metrics out to the main server. Prometheus is a little bit different where it actually follows a pull-based model when the Prometheus main server itself will reach out to those agents to collect those metrics. We will define these clients or targets in the Prometheus config itself to tell it who to reach out to. You can statically define these targets or use a service discovery mechanism to add these targets into the Prometheus ecosystem. Alright, let's jump into the demo and get our hands dirty. Let's go to prometheus.io, that's the main Prometheus page. Then hit downloads. I'm on my Mac, so I'm gonna download the Darwin binary. If you're on Linux or Windows, you can select the respective binaries. So once it's downloaded, let's untar it. Once that's done, I'm just going to rename the folder so that it's short and precise. Go to the Prometheus folder and run the binary. On my Mac, I'll have to allow this binary to run, so I'm just going to do that. Alright, so finally I'm able to run it. Prometheus has a very basic UI. Let's go to localhost 9090 and check it out. This is the query interface, and we can look at the targets, which has only one target at the moment, which is itself. I'm going to create my own config file so that we can use it in the Docker section as well. We will start with a cleaned up version of the default config, as you can see. Once that is done, we're going to run the Prometheus binary with the config.file flag to map it to the new config file. Let's come to my favorite section, which is running Prometheus as a Docker instance. This is the Docker version I'm running on and the Prometheus version. I'm going to use the docker run command, specify the ports, map the config file using the current running directory, and then specify the Prometheus version. Let's have some fun. I'm going to modify the config file to include labels for our YouTube channel. Running the docker command again. Let's see if the label shows up. There you go. You can now run a quick query to see if my YouTube channel is up. Next step is to install the Node Exporter. This will expose system level metrics. So let's get a Node Exporter running using the docker run command, specifying the ports and also specifying the version. Instead of latest, I'm going to specify the specific version. There you go, it's running. Now let's go to a browser, localhost 9100, hit metrics. As you see, you can see metrics there. You can now run the Node Exporter in the background. Let's actually add the Node Exporter as a target. I'm going to copy this job and just rename it to Node and then specify localhost 9100. Now we can restart the Prometheus container. Let's go back to the browser and do a reload. Okay, once you open it up, you notice that it's not able to connect to the Node Exporter. This is because by default, Docker containers work on Bridge Network, which is their internal Docker network. Let's find a Docker container ID. and then use the inspect command to find the IP address of the container. Now let's open the Prometheus config file and modify the IP in there. We can now restart the container again. Now let's go back to the UI and you will now notice both the targets are up. Next step is to visualize the Prometheus data using an awesome tool called Grafana. Let's run it as a Docker instance. Alright, it's running. Oh, actually, let's use the -d flag and run Grafana as a container in the background. And while we're at it, let's do the same for Prometheus. So we do need the IP address of the Prometheus container. So let's look up the container ID. And then now we can run the inspect command to get the IP address of the container. Log into Grafana using localhost 3000. We're going to use the default credentials. Now we have to add Prometheus as a data source. Go to the gear icon and then hit data source. Select Prometheus as the data source and add the IP in there with the default Prometheus port. This is the same IP we discovered using the inspect command. After that, hit save. Right, so let's look for Node Exporter full Grafana dashboard. This is the one I like. You can find others as well. Alright, once you're here, just copy the ID. Let's go back to Grafana. Now we can create a dashboard. Let's hit the plus sign and click on import. Add the ID in there and click load. You can now select Prometheus as the data source and import. Alright, you have now imported your first Grafana dashboard. If you did enjoy this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe and let me know in the comment section below.